Good morning, everyone. I am Aprilyn A. Pascual, DBA student in University of Mindanao. For this session, I'm going to present to you Chapter 10, Risk Assessment Considerations in the subject DBA 208 Risk Assessment. So to start with, let's have the following objectives. Okay, first, we have to discuss the importance of risk assessment consideration. Second, we have to distinguish the different risk assessment techniques. And lastly, we have to explain the importance of risk assessment considerations in actual real-life scenarios. So to proceed with, let's first examine why do we need to have risk assessment? What does its importance to us? So when we say risk assessment, it involves the recognition of risk and the rating of them to determine the significant risk facing the organization, a project, or a strategy. According to the British standards, BS 31100, it is the overall process of risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation. Because in every management, risk put into strategy focuses on the improved decision making. And with risk assessment, its main risk in management input into strategy formulation. So that's why we better understand the assessment of risk, its importance. So let's discuss these three. First is the risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation. So when we say risk identification, it is the process of identifying and understanding potential risk that could affect the organization. So what are those different risks that affects, for example, in an institution? Okay, what are the possible risks? We have to identify them. Secondly, if we already identify them, let's have risk analysis. When we say risk analysis, it is analyzing the impact of identified risk on the organization objective. Well, it has a great impact, less impact to the organizations wants to achieve in the future. And lastly, we have risk evaluation. We have to evaluate the likelihood and the impact of this identified risk on our organization's objectives. So these are the three that we have to consider. Next one. What are the benefits of undertaking assessment of inherent risk? So as ERM, or Enterprise Risk Management, it offers numerous benefits to the organization across various sectors. It can be health, it can be education, it can be in the economy, okay, or in the business, and so many other. It can be on the transportation. So these are some of the key advantages. Number one, it enhances risk awareness. Be able to be aware of what that risk might do in our objective or the goals of the business. Second one, it improves decision making. Because of enterprise risk management, we'll be able to improve how are we going to deal with the different scenarios or risks that might come into our operation. And lastly, it optimized resource allocation. Okay, so these are the benefits of undertaking assessment of inherent risk. So these are the approaches to risk assessment. So there are many approaches that we can take when planning how to undertake risk. So one of the key decisions will be to involve the risk assessment exercise. Sometimes risk assessments are undertaken by the board of directors as a top-down exercise. Risk assessments can also be undertaken by involving individual members, staff, and local departmental management. So that's why it's very important that this top-level management knows how to handle and treat risk. It is the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer who has great help in defining the attitude of the organization to risk. In general, the overall approach to the different risk assessments will be heavily influenced by risk assessment techniques that will going to tackle after this. Okay? So these are the things that we need to consider. Enhanced risk awareness. What's this? This is the process of identifying and understanding potential risk that could affect the organization. Another one, it improved decision making, as I have said in the ERM earlier. Evaluating the likelihood and impact of identified risk on the organization's objectives. And optimize resource allocation by prioritizing risk based on the significance of potential risk. Okay, here is a table 10.1. So top-down risk assessment. So what are the advantages of this one and the disadvantage? So likely, these advantages are to result in enterprise-wide approach. The risk at the top will have impact throughout the business. The most significant strategic risk for the organization can be captured quickly and there will be a manageable number. At the same time, it originates from top where there is likely to be considered consistent methodology throughout the organization. While the disadvantages are senior managers and directors tend to be more focused on risk external to the organization. Also, because only the top management, it has a limited awareness of internal operations, risk or interdependencies of risk within the business. Third one is that it endangered the approach because too superficial. Because senior managers believe they can manage crisis because they are on the top. They believe they are well informed, knowledgeable enough. And another one is risk emerging from the operational activities of the organization might not be fully identified because top-down risk assessment from the top. Okay? Another one is the bottom-up. Bottom-up risk assessment. So what are the advantages of this one? So it's significant buy-in at all levels of the organization should be achieved. Can be mirrored to an existing organization charge and risk impacts beyond immediate personal risk can be discussed. Yung operational staff have great awareness because bottom to top and can be varied according to local norms and culture, and this is useful for a multinational organization. That's why it's very important also to check the culture of the organization. Where does the business is thriving or where does the business is operating? And the disadvantages of this are there will be little focus on the external risk or strategic risk. Also time-consuming. And the danger is that the approach becomes too detailed and blinkered, resulting in a silo approach to risk assessment. Another is that we must remember new risk emerging from operational activities of the business might not be reported by operational staff. Okay? So these are from the bottom. Yung kanina, that was top. Okay? From top to down risk assessment. And this one is from bottom up risk assessment. Okay, so what are the different techniques in risk assessment? There is a wide range of assessment. According to international standard, ISO IEC 31010 or risk management assessment techniques published in 2009, they provide detailed information on the full range of risk assessment. So you can see here in table 10.3, these are the different techniques. Okay, there are questionnaires. Example of the techniques are questionnaire and checklist. So what does it gives us? It is used of structured questionnaires and checklists to collect information that will assist with the recognition of significant risk. We just simply say, create a question and a checklist to better answer what are the risks for assessment. Second one, we have the workshops and brainstorming. Through this technique, we be able to collect and share our ideas in the workshop, discuss the events that could impact the objectives, core processes, or key dependencies. Number 3, the inspections and audits. So we have physical inspection of premises and activities. You have to look what are, if you're planning to put up a building, so there is a quality control there. You have to check if the structure are properly built. Okay, you have to have a record on that, right? Engineers, di ba? And analysis or flowchart and dependency analysis. So this technique focuses on the analysis of the processes and operations within the organization to identify critical components that are key to success. So these are some of the many techniques for risk assessments. It is up to us which type of risk assessment technique is suitable in our organization or in the business that we are into with. Okay, so what are the disadvantages of this and advantages? Okay, so in questions and checklist technique, its advantage is consistent structure guarantees consistency, greater involvement than in a workshop. While this disadvantage is that it's rigid, but may result some risk being missed, maiiwan, di natin ma-capture. And questions will be based on historical knowledge, based on what had been true. Ano yung pinagdaanan na na-experience, okay? But if you're looking to the workshop and brainstorming, the advantage of this one is consolidated opinions from the interest parties, greater interaction, and it produces more ideas. While the disadvantage, senior management tends to dominate. Issues will be missed if incorrect people involved. So, yun, mahirap pag nagbe-brainstorming at hindi wala kang that you do not have a professional type of personality, yung personal, tapos meron kang grudges into top management. So, you have issues, so it's very difficult. It's a disadvantage if you use this technique. Okay? Another is the inspections and audits. So we have physical evidence forms the basis of opinion. Audit approach result in good structure. While the disadvantage of this one is that inspections are most suitable for hazard risk, audit approach tends to focus on historical experience. While the last one, the flowcharts and dependency, it is useful because it may be used elsewhere and it produces better understanding of the process. While disadvantage that is difficult for strategic risk. It may be detailed and time-consuming. Okay? So, in many organizations, the question is, what could undermine each of these key dependencies? So, the answer is that risks are being identified when the questions can be asked, what would cause uncertainty about these key dependencies? For an opportunity risk analysis, the question would be, what events or circumstances would enhance the status of each of the key dependencies? So that's why we have to apply this one. Yung quantification is particularly important for financial institutions and the style of risk management employed. So that's why we have this ORM, or what you call operational risk management within organization. So what the nature of the risk matrix? Okay, so you have to consider this one. It's a technique for rating risk are well established, but there is also a need to decide what scope exists for further improving control. Okay, so these are an example of nature of risk matrix. So ano yung likelihood that the risk might happen? Unlikely, possible, likely, or almost certain. So these are how the likelihood of the nature of risk. Okay? As to the definition or the nature of the risk, is it small impact, moderate, severe, or catastrophic? So when we say small, no impact on patient, minor reduction or repetition in the short run, while moderate, minor temporary impact, for example, on the health. Small reduction, while severe, it has a serious impact on health. Like for example, how are we going to treat MPACs nowadays? Is it small, moderate, severe, or catastrophic? So how are you going to use risk management techniques here? So catastrophic, you're going to have death or permanent reduction of health of the patient. So it's up to us. During the COVID-19, maybe some of the economists uses this type of management technique, okay? Able to check, identify the impact of the nature of the risk that been into COVID-19. Okay? So risk perception. So when we say risk perception, it is undertaking a risk assessment exercise. It's often the case that different attendees at the workshop will have different views of the risk. There are several ways of accommodating differing opinions, magkaiba-iba. Okay, in some cases, voting software can be used in order to identify the majority view. While this has the benefit that it is simple means of identifying the average group position at the same time as demonstrating the spread of opinion. So it's up to the people within the organization how they perceive risk. Okay? And different views of risk at the different levels of seniority within the organization. It is useful for risk assessment process to draw opinions for all levels of management from the top. As you can see earlier, yung top to bottom and bottom to top. Okay? Again, the benefits of this approach are better risk communication, fuller risk understanding, and identification of appropriate practical solutions for the risk that we're going to encounter. So let's take it as an example, government risk assessment. It says here from HM Treasury, government will make available its assessment of risks that affect the public, how it has reached its decision, and how it will handle the risk. It also do so where the development of new policies possess a potential risk to the public. So that's why when information is to be kept private or where their approach has departs from existing practice, it will explain why. Where facts are uncertain or unknown, government will seek to make clear that the gaps in its knowledge are, it will be open about where it has been mistakes and what it is doing to rectify them. That's why when there are problems arises when it comes to health risk, so the government make it sure that everybody or all of its constituents are well informed. So that they'll no fake news that might come and believe on that. Okay, so what is our attitude towards risk? When considering this one, we have our perception and appetite. Is it worth reflecting on the fact that certain individuals may be more concerned about a low impact risk with a high probability of occurrence, such as a car crash? Okay, then about high impact risk that is unlikely to happen, such as earthquake. Okay, how many times do we experience earthquake? We can count. Okay, this difference in approach is often reflected in the risk assessment process and can affect in which significant risks are prioritized. So this one, example, when buying a car, our attitude to risk. We have the idea of risk appetite and hazard, control and opportunity risk. Consider the decision to buy a car. When deciding which car to buy, there is a need to evaluate hazard tolerance and acceptance of uncertainty, as well as the sum of money that will be invested in the opportunity. Are we going to buy a new car or are we going to buy second car? What are the risks that we need to consider? So for example, the actual financial capacity and our ability to run a car also to be considered. So when buying a new vehicle, the buyer needs to make sure that the vehicle selected will not lead to more risk and cost than anticipated. While the risks that are associated with owning a vehicle, you have to have insurance, repairs, accidents, service cost, as well as the purchase price and anticipated annual depreciation. So we have to consider that one. While buying a second-hand or a 2-year-old prestigious car, the car will cost less money than a new vehicle, but there is a depreciation cost, less opportunity risk. However, the repair and maintenance may cost higher because it's already been used. You do not know what are the uncontrolled risks and the exposure to accident, theft, and the repair. So always remember that opportunity risk enhance the possible achievement of the benefits of owning a car. The control risk increase uncertainty of the doubt. Achieving these benefits and hazards inhibit to it. Okay, so that would be all my report. Thank you for listening. That's all about risk assessments and consideration. Have a great day, everyone. God bless.